Hi, this is Jim.
And Ralph.
And we welcome you to Psychology Takeaway, the podcast where we look at new things in psychology or old things that might be relevant today and try to make them relevant to you.
And to us.
Well, we're back again, Ralph.
Yeah, and how are you today, Jim?
I'm fine. Hey, I'm liking this weather.
Yeah.
We don't have the 90-degree stuff.
It's a little easier to live with than the 95-degree days.
Mm-hmm. And last week's podcast was a pretty interesting one with Father Matt.
Yes, and today, fortunately, we have Father Matt back again, and today we're going to talk about the fear of intimacy.
Yeah, something that he sees a lot here on campus, and so Father Matt, welcome back.
Good to be here.
You were the one who brought up the fear of intimacy last week, just the very end of our podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what does it mean to you in terms of the students that you see around here?
So everyone has a basic human desire to love and be loved, to know and be known, right? To live in communion with other people.
Mm-hmm.
And there are things in our lives that we can think other people, if they saw them, would dislike us, would not love us, would reject us and want to be away from us.
Okay.
Whether they are parts of our personality or things we have done or the way we look, whatever.
A sense of shame.
A sense of shame.
Okay.
So this shame causes people to hide. And
put the mask on.
To put the mask on.
Okay.
And to act as a part in a play.
Yeah.
If you want to tie it into spirituality, when Jesus would talk to the Pharisees in the Gospels, he was always very harsh to the Pharisees. He was kind to everyone else. The Pharisees he hated.
Yeah.
And they
were the remind me, they were the preachers,
The Pharisees
right?
were the religious leaders of his day.
Religious leaders, okay.
And he always called them hypocrites. Woe to you, Pharisees, you hypocrites. And the word hypocrite is a Greek word, but it doesn't mean what we think it means. We think someone is a hypocrite when they say one thing and do another.
Something else. Yeah.
Yep. In the church's mind, that just makes you a sinner.
Oh.
How many times have I said from the pulpit, love your neighbor, and then I'm a jerk to my neighbor, right? Because I am a sinner. We all do things that are wrong. A hypocrite comes from the Greek word hypokritos, which means actor. So a hypocrite was an actor on a stage. They would put on a mask and they would play a part.
Okay.
So Jesus is saying, you hypocrites.
You actors on the stage.
You act and pretend as if you have no problems. Right? And you pretend to be someone you are not. So hypocrisy can become a real problem. Not saying that I have no problems. Like we all have problems.
Yeah.
But pretending as if they don't exist.
Oh, okay.
And so I hide these things from other people. And I'm afraid to be vulnerable with them. To remove the mask, to be intimate.
Yeah. I can remember one of the things that, about the Pharisees. He said something to the effect of, you're like whitewashed...
whitewashed tombs.
Tombs. You look good on the inside.
Beautiful on the outside, but inside full of dead men's bones and every kind of filth. It's such a great line.
That's a great line.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that, connecting to our last podcast, we talked about how a lot of people who teach or are professors, when they retire, they die. Very quickly, short years after retirement. And I think that is because many people who teach have a teacher's mask. And they put that on, and they go into class, and they teach through that mask. And then, after teaching for 40 years, they retire, and they find they can't take the mask off. It has become so much a part of them that they cannot be their real, honest selves. And so they keep trying to wear the mask in all relationships.
Ralph, CMU is was a teacher's college for years and years. And one of the profs that I knew, didn't take a class from, was a guy who said, don't let them see you smile for the first 8 weeks.
Yeah.
To his teachers. Don't. So,
I think that's terrible advice.
I mean,
in the priesthood, it can be very much the same thing. People have an idea of, often the idea of a priest is very different from the actual person. But they can have this idea. Imagine you're a priest. Just imagine you're in that position. Here I am leading this community, and I'm holding us all up to this very strict standard. I mean, Jesus was strict. His teachings were strict. He was loving and understanding, but it's hard to live by as a Christian, according to the creed. And here I am getting up in front of everyone, and everyone's paying attention to me, and I'm the center because I'm saying Mass. And you know in your heart that you do not live up to your own standards, right? And so many priests can struggle with this, depending on what their own issues are. And they can wear the mask so tightly out of fear that if someone sees who they really are, they'll think, well, he can't even do it. I can't do it either. This is all fake, and they'll leave. And so priests, kind of maybe more than a lot of people, feel that temptation to stick the mask on and never take it off. But, the one thing we're afraid of is the thing that will actually save us, right? Intimacy that we're afraid of, having someone else see me for who I really am. I'm afraid of it, but it's what I've always wanted too. Mm-hmm. So I love it and I hate it at the same time. All of us can feel that tension within our hearts. I want intimacy, but I'm afraid of it.
Okay. Now, Alex, you're back here in the what seat is this? The technician's seat?
Yeah. The control seat.
Control seat.
Driver's seat. Yeah.
Driver's seat. Okay. Again, you have another gig that you do at a local tavern, right?
Yeah, I got a couple gigs actually, but
yeah.
I also do photo booths. You never talk about the photo booths. It's always like, how about the beer?
What's a photo booth?
Oh, like for events and stuff, like print out strips, analog photos.
Wow.
Really blows the kids' minds these days.
It blows the kids' mind?
They do. They're like, wow, that's instant. Like you
I
have
didn't know that.
Printed photo.
Okay.
It's really fun.
All right. Now, in your experience, you and Father Matt are roughly the same age. You're a lot younger than Ralph and I. And so you've got your finger on the pulse around the university and at the tavern. What do you know about intimacy?
It can be scary, yeah. It definitely was challenging in my first marriage. Definitely, I can relate to that. When you demask, depending on how it goes, it can the other person can see you very differently. They can,
Yeah. One of the things that I have a stereotype perhaps of young students now they go out to one of the dance clubs and they, in today's parlance, hook up, and they have what essentially is meaningless
intimacy,
and they end up, that happens on Saturday night, and by Tuesday they're saying, that was terrible. Mm-hmm. The intimacy physically may have been great, but the connection was not there.
So you're saying that they're feeling guilty?
Not necessarily guilty, but just like there was no connection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that kind of makes me wonder if you're seeking connection, why do people keep trying to find it in
all the wrong places?
The wrong places, or in physical relationships that have no friendship, no love, if you will. Not love in the sense of sexuality, but no love in the sense of feeling that person is someone who can be connected.
Ralph, remember Maslow?
Yeah.
Okay. Down here at the very bottom, physiological needs.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, that's where
they're on the right track. I mean, sex is the most intimate thing you can do with someone. And if you're thirsting for intimacy, that makes a lot of sense. You're going to do that. The issue is, and just take religion out of it for a second, take morality, right, out of it. There's no such
thing. Take morality out of it?
For the moment.
Okay.
Just look at things naturally.
Okay.
There's no such thing as casual sex, right? When the human being bonds with the other human being, again, all of those areas of life Mental, social, physical, emotional, everything is connected.
Okay.
So when I do the deepest, most intimate thing I possibly can, with my body, physically, with a total stranger, it's throwing me all for a loop, right? Because now I did this super intimate thing and the person's gone. And so just my mental health is going to be damaged from that, right? It's just a fact. It's essentially a shortcut. Real intimacy is difficult. It takes hard work. You have to really trust the other person. You have to be vulnerable. They may reject me. They may hurt me.
I may have to take my mask off.
Yeah, having sex is easy. Anybody can do that, right? You meet someone who's attractive, you have some drinks, and 12 minutes later it's done, right?
Right.
And then you felt good for that long, right? Is that too long? That 12 minutes? And so I really want this intimacy, but I'm not willing to do all the hard work. And
Right.
so I've jumped from the very beginning of a relationship. So I jump all the way to the end. Sex that should be the crowning jewel of a relationship, the crowning jewel that caps it all off. And I've just taken that, right? And I've missed everything else in the middle. And that's inevitably going to harm your mental health.
You went from the physiological to the goal,
Yeah.
and you missed everything else.
Yeah. And so that's why I say take morality out of it for a second. That is going to damage you as a human person and damage the other person. And there's this lie in our culture that says, that's great. That's empowering. And I don't know where this lie is coming from because I've just never met someone, and maybe it's the circle I hang out with, who engages in that behavior, who can afterwards say, I'm better off for having done this. I've never met them, right? It's this false idea of empowerment, right? This is a short aside. The idea of freedom is very important to the American. Right?
Right.
In our culture, it's very important. Freedom means I can do what I want, when I want, wherever I want, with whoever I want, as long as I'm not harming someone else. I'm free. And the church, and the Catholic Church would say, no, that's not freedom. That's called license. Freedom is I am able to do what I ought. I am free to do as I ought. I have license to go out and sleep with as many women as I want. But do I have the ability, the self-will, the discipline to be faithful to my wife? That man is free. He's free to do as he ought. The other person is enslaved by their desires.
Okay.
It's this different idea of freedom.
Okay, let's go to Janis Joplin for a minute.
Okay.
Freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose, right, Ralph?
Yeah,
I mean, that's what the song
that's
says.
what the song says.
Me and Billy McGee?
Yeah.
Okay. So how can you relate to that? Freedom's just another word for nothing left to
Expand
lose.
on that a little bit, on your
Well-
Janis Joplin quote.
Yeah, I don't think I can. It's just
Say it again for me.
Freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. I think that was it. Goes back
Well,
to the 70s.
It's the last bastion of something resembling a coherent argument to defend one's actions.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you doing this? Well, I can say, well, it's going to support me this way, or it makes sense because of X, Y, or Z. The very most basic thing I can say is because I want to.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I have nothing left to defend my actions, I'll say, well, it's a free country. I can do what I want to do.
Yeah.
Somebody that resorts to that knows in their heart that what they're doing is they ought not to do.
Mm.
What I find is that I don't have to, when people will come to Mass or they're listening to preaching and people think that the priest is there to convict them of their sins, 99% of people, when they do something wrong, they know it's wrong.
They're convicted by
They're
themselves.
convicted by themselves, right?
Yeah.
It harms them, it hurts them. They don't need me. Sometimes they do in the more technical teachings to go, hey, that's actually evil. They know it. But what do? We don't want to see ourselves as someone that participates in evil. So we'll lie to ourselves, we'll justify it, we'll blame other people. And that's where, to convict people of that, to listen to that inner voice, the conscience that says, no, this is not good, this is evil. And to not give into banal arguments of, well, I'm free.
Mm-hmm.
And, the other thing I think that a lot of people really try to deny is they don't want to be willing to say, I'm a sinner.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm free. I can't be a sinner
Mm-hmm.
because I I don't hurt people.
Yeah.
I just make love with them all the time, as many as I can. That's not sin.
Yeah, well, it gets back to this idea of sin. People will come up to me all the time. Father Matt, is this a sin? Is that a sin? Is this a sin? Go back to what we were saying about good and evil. Good is something that helps this object to flourish. Evil is something that degrades and destroys.
Okay.
Stop.
Tomato plant.
Yeah, the tomato plant. This thing that you're talking about, is it good or is it evil?
Well, it's
Well,
a little bit.
is this helping you and others flourish or not? Well, not really. Then it's evil.
Yeah.
Okay? That's what we mean by sin.
Okay. No, but it's just a little bit evil.
You know, you want to engage with evil? Go for it. We all do in some. We're all tempted. We all fall. You know, this is a psychological thing. I don't know how psychology deals with this, so maybe you can explain to me. The idea for us is of original sin. That there's something wrong with the world. There's something wrong with us human beings. That we know what we ought to do. We know what will make us happy, and yet we don't do it. We self-sabotage all the time. We chalk it up to original sin. And we can talk about that more, but I want to hear, how does psychology explain that? This ability to self-sabotage. I mean, a pig in the pen doesn't do things to self-sabotage. A tree doesn't self-sabotage, but the human being will do it all the time. I know what I should do. This is the way I should go, and then I'll go and mess it all up.
Right.
How do we explain that psychologically?
Okay. Now, Philip Zimbardo is known to some of the people in our podcast. That we've talked about his Stanford prison experiment before, where we took 25 students from Stanford, mentally healthy people, made half of them guards and half of them inmates, and by the fourth day of an experiment that was supposed to last for 2 weeks, the experiment was called off because the guards were acting, sadistically, and the inmates were becoming mentally disturbed or emotionally disturbed. So Zimbardo has been criticized for the experiment, but I don't think he had a clue as to how the students, these normal students, were going to act. So this sort of hijacked his research. So he went in a whole different direction with what he's now studying and looking at. And he's known as the psychologist who studies evil. And he would say that we as human beings are inherently evil. That if we just take the mask off a little bit, or take the Band-Aid off a little bit, the bad stuff comes out. Now, I don't know if that's true or not.
Well, how does psychology explain this, though, that we don't see this in other creatures? Or maybe we do, and I'm just ignorant of that, but do we see that in other animals? Or is it in the human being that this really shows up?
Well, okay, you're going to say something, Ralph, and then I want to talk about the University of Toronto study.
What I was going to say is there's an interesting article from the 70s called Sliding Down the Behavioral Sink. And it's about a rat, actually 2 rats. They were put in a 10 by 10 by 10 foot cage, and they were given unlimited food and water.
That was what I was going to talk about, too. Yeah, okay.
The one rat was female, one rat was male. They did what rats do, and they had a bunch of little ratlets, and they did what rats do, and eventually the cage was crowded. Now, they kept increasing the amount of food, they kept increasing the amount of water.
Yeah, they had enough food, they had enough water.
They had enough bedding, they had all their needs met physically, but they started into very aberrant behavior. So you got one rat who would go off and hide
a murderous
in a corner.
rat, a rat that's isolating himself or herself.
Yeah, you would get another rat who would go around, and even female rats that weren't in season would essentially rape them. You got another rat who would bite anything. You got, all kinds of weird, aberrant behavior. And all we can say about that, I think the only good assessment that I've seen says that any species with unlimited resources forced into too crowded conditions will manifest aberrant behavior.
Okay, and what
Which-
happened? Go ahead.
Which says something, I think, about cities like Shanghai or New York or, places that people are crowded together so much.
I'm thinking more of the individual person.
Yeah.
That in everybody's life, we have a temptation. Okay. Let's say you're a married man and you're faithful to your wife, and then you're tempted to look at pornography or something. And I know if I do this, my wife's going to be upset. It's going to harm our relationship. And you'll have guys doing it over and over and over again. They don't want to do it, and you can talk about the addiction part of it, but we all will do things that we know are going to harm and ruin my real goals. Like that thing in the individual heart is what I'm asking about. Psychologically, like what is the genesis of that? How would you explain that?
Well, I don't know. I think Zimbardo is going to say, hey, we're basically evil.
Well,
Not
I-
Fromm would say we're basically good, but Zimbardo might go the other way.
I don't think that it's that. I think it's, to me, it's yielding to temptation to behave badly in the short term feels good. And so it's the natural tendency of humans to be short-sighted. And so I say, my wife has gone to bed early tonight. I'm going to turn on porn and watch that. So I do that, and it feels okay. But that's short-term thinking.
Yeah.
It's going to harm my relationship with my wife, not necessarily tomorrow, but over the long term.
Yeah.
A, she's going to find out, or B, I'm going to be saying, I'm changing my relationship with her.
Yeah, my interest is in that, the church has explanations for these things, theological, religious explanations. Original sin is why we self-sabotage. And I'm always interested in hearing the opposite point of view. What is the naturalistic explanation? This seems like a universal, you can't deny that this happens. People self-sabotage. Everyone does. So how does, someone without a religious worldview where it's just atoms bumping into each other, how do you explain that? Whereas everything else seems to be working together, the human being can collapse in on itself. And I'm not saying there is no explanation. I'm just wondering like what it is.
Father Matt, you ask great questions. The question that you asked at the last podcast was, what about fear of intimacy? Now you're asking, what's the psychological genesis of evil? I think
I jumped all over the place. Sorry.
I think
three.
Self-sabotage, and the answer is, to me, I recognize that. I've done it. But in my own inner analysis, I have no idea why. Other than I can say, yeah, I can think of instances where I self-sabotaged.
Me too. I think everyone can.
Everybody can, I think.
Yeah.
So I think we have to do some work, Ralph, on the psychology of evil and maybe bring Father Matt back since he's the one who pushed the button.
I'm a short walk away. Just a 2-minute walk from the library, people. There's a church on campus, St. Mary University Parish. The doors are open. At least walk in and say hi.
Okay. Why don't you push the exit button? We'll stop on that one, Alex.
All right, sounds good. Play me out.
Play you out. Play me out. Play us out. Well, until next time, this is Jim
And Ralph,
saying keep your stick on the ice
because we're all in this
together.